Welcome to Anatomy of a Business, a discussion of the businesses that serve our community and focusing on the challenges and the successes. I'm Bud Meyers from the Virginia Breeze Broadcasting Company. And today is going to be a little different because instead of focusing directly on the businesses of the B&B, BBB, we're also going to discuss the BBB itself. And today I've got the CEO and president of the BBB of Central Virginia, Mr. Barry Moore, with me today. Barry, thanks for taking the time to do this.
Thank you, Bud. It's exciting to go over and talk about what we do. And it makes me think a little bit harder now.
I don't want to think hard. So let's start, because in order to talk about the BBB, I think it's important to understand the background of the people who are involved. And you obviously have a very extensive background in a particular area. And you were, one of the largest and most successful retailers of automotive sales in the state and actually beyond. Where did that start, Barry?
The Pontiac GMC started with me coming here in 1999, becoming part of a company that was here since 1967. It was all reputation, hard work. The dealer principal is an amazing business person, retired, but really laid the foundation. But I started in the car business in New Jersey, and I just got lucky when I moved here in '99. I joined a great team, and so it wasn't just one person, one salesperson making it all possible. It was an entire team and culture.
Well, there you go, culture. And I'm going to start with that first question.
Yes.
Making that move from more northern area to what you crossed the Mason-Dixon line, I guess, you're down the side. There's a cultural difference. How did you adjust to that?
Well, the first thing, I moved in 1999 when I walked in that dealership. I'll never forget it. My hair was greased back. I was a lot younger. I had all the gold chains you can imagine, Bud, and probably had a three-piece suit on then. And
how did you go through metal detectors at the airport?
You had to take everything off, right? I never flew. But when I came down here and I walked in, I realized it's a different industry. Up north, I fit in. I was a dime a dozen. You knew when we walked in a restaurant who the car people were. I could pick them out from 5 booths away. The accent, the loud talking, everything about them, right? The demeanor. When I walked into the dealership here in Richmond, I found a place that was completely different, focused on the customer, focused maybe not as much on employees. They probably did. It's not a negative for the company, but I think what I did is enhanced the relationship with employees. Now, I wasn't an easygoing guy. I was very demanding because, part of the culture, like you're saying, what I remember is I used to say, your spouse, your family, your little kids are sending mommy or daddy to go get a paycheck. And when you come and smoke all day, hide out, don't take customers, don't learn your product, you're not doing your family very well. So you might as well go work somewhere else. Don't work for me. And so I always believed in everybody being their best, like a Vince Lombardi. Be your best was on our football lockers in high school from a coach in the 70s. And that always stayed with me. And it stays with me today, even in a nonprofit like the Better Business Bureau. I expect everybody to do their very best. And if their very best is mediocre against everybody else, that's fine. I coached you to where you could be. I want you on my team. And I think that's what I brought to the dealership here in Richmond. I was probably angry at some meetings. I was probably happy at some meetings. But I was truly an athlete, coming out of the football world, trained by guys in the car business that came out of Vietnam. And they weren't rosy. They weren't always singing Kumbaya with us. They were demanding. But you know what? I learned a lot. And I think I brought that culture. So that's one good thing from the Mason-Dixon line. You're coming down 95. I brought that to this town. And I wasn't the only one. Obviously, more people came. So I wasn't the first. I wasn't the last. but I think that's what made a huge difference in our performance. And people today will run into me and say, boy, I didn't like you at the meetings and you held me accountable, but I learned a lot.
Do you feel there was a change in the work ethic from up north?
Yes. Because you can open 7 days a week here in Virginia, which our store did not. New Jersey, you cannot, blue laws. And the work ethic, people were more family oriented here
Okay.
than the kind of people I was dealing with up Northeast. You know, I did it for 17 years. Again, I was younger. I was a lot younger. And again, I got taught by some really good teachers that they were completely crazy. Glenn Ross is a good movie to watch if you want to know how I was trained. And I've shared that movie with over 1,000 people. And it's not that I'm saying that's the right thing. There's a hidden message in that, and you have to really look for it. So I think it's helped a lot of people that I know watching that movie and developing.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that the Southern folks have more of a family-oriented ethic?
Yeah, I mean, it's cultural. Obviously, it's maybe the church background,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
a black community versus a white, you know, half of my clients were black, the other half were white. Half were black that worked for me, the other half were white. I mean, so what was different here is the way I looked at people, and the racism that came out was alarming to me because I didn't grow up that way up north. I mean, everybody says, "Oh, sure you did." No, you didn't. It's total. We don't have white and black churches up north. Everybody just gets together. But at the same time, the folks that we're talking about, 99, 2000, were growing up with families. Now we've lost that probably in 2010, 2020 locally. And as you know, C.T. Woody, when he was sheriff, always used to talk about family. It's the only thing I ever learned from the guy, that it was so ingrained in my mind. It's about family. And I've heard him say that.
So now you went into the situation here in Richmond when you came in. That business was a family-oriented business, right? It had started.
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So how do you integrate yourself into a situation like that?
Well, they allow it down here in other states. Up north, in the Northeast, there's dad, there's granddad, there's great-granddad, and there might be a great-great-great-granddad that started in the automobile business in 1901. I started at King Cadillac, Oldsmobile Buick, BMW, Subaru, and they started in 1901 as a General Motors Cadillac Oldsmobile dealership. I forget which was first. And they were buggy painters. But that's what they did. They were the automobile transportation people.
Okay.
And Mr. King's great-grandfather or grandfather, I mean, I don't even remember all the generations. It was passed generation to generation. So it was, you work for them, and if they fired you today because they had a bad night last night, or they didn't like the way you dressed,
Okay.
or they found somebody else at the bar or the racetrack that came across as a real salesperson and could, abracadabra raise their business by 200%. Down here, the difference is, yes, family, but I was a partner. I was a minority partner, so I had to pay my money in, and so I ran the business like it was my own business, and it was just a small amount of investment, but it didn't matter to me. It was my company in my mind. Never told anybody, but I ran it every day for net profit.
Okay.
And that's where I think a lot of the small businesses that I work with, we'll get into BBB, they don't run that way. They don't realize everything they do contributes to the bottom line, and they don't know what that means. As you and I have talked about, you become a business owner, but do you know what net to earnings are? Do you know what gross net to sales are? Do you know what personnel expense is? Unfortunately, no. There's no book to read. Actually, there is, but you're not going to read it.
Who does it these days?
But again, you got AI. You can do it always, but it still doesn't tell you what it means and how to do it. So I think working in this business, when they take you out as a minority partner and they raise you like their kids would be raised up north, but you're a stakeholder. You're not blood.
Right.
And it's business, and it's clear cut. We're not going to have a bad Thanksgiving dinner and Dad get mad at me and change me up in New Jersey to another role, or yell at me or scream at me. I'm down here. I'm just an investor running the day-to-day and accountable to earnings.
But you still had to put yourself into the culture.
Absolutely.
And was there any point in that culture or anything that they did? First, what was positive, and then was there anything that you felt needed to be changed a bit?
You know, yeah, the good one, I'll never forget the story. It was probably 1999, and a lady, and I used to call her Bud, an old lady. She's probably younger than I am today, but that's how life goes,
That
right?
happens, yeah.
Yeah, that happens to all of us, hopefully. And she bought a Cadillac, a used Cadillac from us, and she came back, and she was nitpicking, right? I mean, in New Jersey, you just get out, you throw them out, you never talk to them, and it doesn't matter the age or who they are, just get out. Well, this woman, and she was wrong. She was looking for more than agreed upon in our transaction, but because of the way I would just not listen any longer, and I was 38 years old, coming out of a different culture, I would have been rewarded up north by throwing her out of the dealership or telling her no, right? She got a hold of my majority partners who had a lot more seasoning than I did. You get that call up to the office and you cringe and you know something's not right. And I never thought, but it would be about this nice little old lady who bought a used Cadillac, that she talked to them, the bosses, the gods upstairs, and they told me this. Make this very clear, Barry. If the customer gets to me, you're paying for it because it comes out of my check.
Mm-hmm.
We're taking care of it. So you figure that out from now on, because every time they get to us, it's going to cost you and your staff money. And guess what that did? It changed my philosophy at 38 years old. So today, when I work with business owners as accredited businesses or have meetings here and conversations, I have that in the back of my mind. And it served us well, served us very, very well. You know, Pontiac, we led the marketplace in Pontiac sales, and there was a lot of reasons to that. And we built a great service reputation in business. So I think that answers your question on that. On the negative side, there was nothing. I mean, they wanted to hire people. There was no DEI. They just said to hire anybody that could do the job.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need to be told that there's
A percentage.
straight people, gay people,
Right.
white, black. And we hired anybody. If you could do the job and I thought I could train you or the staff could train you, that's what we did. So attract, satisfy, retain is a tough thing to learn as a business owner and as a young business person. But the older I got, I do understand attract, satisfy, retain the best employees and the best customers.
You know, that statement, to my mind, it's not said enough, because in my career, in the different businesses that I've been in, I also have never seen that situation. It has always been get the best people,
Right.
regardless of who they are. I guess I've been very lucky, and I was brought up in Chesterfield County, and they're just in my family, or it's just in my entire life. I've just not seen that situation in business. You get the best people regardless, you know. So you are in the business of cars, or we're in the business of cars. I have to ask this. What is the consideration to take a culture of a brand? So you not only do you have a culture of a business, but you are established as, for instance, the Pontiac entity in this area. Do you do anything different there? Do you elevate the sales presentation? How do you get into that culture as well?
That's a great question. That's a whole day conversation, and I don't think a lot of people ever think about that. You know, your questions obviously are stimulating to me. I'm sitting here thinking about it, like, why didn't I think of that? But yeah, so I've worked at 22 brands in my lifetime. In New Jersey, I bounced around because that's the nature of the business up there. Here, I was here 18 years, and then I was at a Honda store in Pittsburgh, outside of Pittsburgh, for a year and a half. So with my 22 brands, BMW, rear-wheel drive, limited slip differential. This is knowledge I learned in 1983.
You may have to teach me about it.
Yeah, and stuff that product was pounded on our head in the same showroom, but I was selling Oldsmobiles that all of our fathers wanted one, and or a Buick or a Cadillac, and so Cadillac was a luxury, rich person's demeanor or reputation. It really wasn't, but that's because that's how the demographics are when you advertise, right? You have to match the advertising. So a Cadillac store, you have to go for luxury and comfort. Pontiac, I got into it. It's a racing car, and I got into NASCAR because of that. And we had things in the showroom that showed off NASCAR. Now, the other folks that bought Pontiacs, and not all racing people bought Pontiacs, but the other people wanted a nice family car that they could afford. And Pontiac, again, had this long-term reputation that Dad had, the Firebird had, and the Pontiac, the Le Mans. I don't even remember all the cars. And that's, they knew what Granddad had, and they were buying that. And we had to know the product better than maybe the Ford Mustang, the Ford store down the street, because we knew the people were going to shop between two stores.
Right.
For driving excitement was Pontiac's tagline. I still remember it, and it was amazing. And,
GTO, right?
Yeah, GTO, right? And we came back out with the GTO and the G8. I mean, we had to really get into it because we had some knuckleheads, believe it or not, some car people walking in saying, "This isn't the GTO my dad had." And I don't care. Get out. Either buy it or not. You couldn't afford your dad's car. Buy this one because it's 10 times better.
Yeah.
It was 10 times better.
Yeah.
And it was an incredible car. It didn't make it. Pontiac didn't make it any longer. But I always will give credit. I was talking to, by email, Rick Wagner, who's from Richmond, who's the CEO back at General Motors for a long time, left right around the bankruptcy time. Good business guy. He just spoke at VCU. One of the best business people I've met in my career. I've met Alex Trotman, who ran, or Mulaney, whoever ran Ford. I've run into people and listened to them. And Rick Wagner was a great business person. But I told him in the letter, I still give Lynn Meyers, who headed up Pontiac, a woman in General Motors back in around 2000. She's been through it all. Don't ever dismiss that, right? And what she did. And she used to tell all these men in the audience, and they're turned into now female dealers, but you got to have product. And I carry that, and I talk to the 91 CEOs that make up the Better Business Bureau. I've been saying it for 4.5 years, giving her credit, and I told Rick Wagner this, the got to have product goes right into, whether it's a car dealership or the Better Business Bureau. We have, at the Better Business Bureau since 1912 as a nonprofit, not a government agency, has got to continue to present a got to have product, which we do. It's called BBB.org. And that's where consumers go to learn about companies, and they learn where they want to go shop. And they have a choice. And a minority of companies are accredited. We call them ABs. But the ones that are putting the logo on display, they're living the culture, and they're going back to what I learned at the car dealership in 1999. If the customer comes to me, right, you're going to pay for it. So just do it up front. Do the right thing up front. And that's what the Better Business Bureau, I think, is our one thing we bring to businesses. We want you to do the right thing the first time and not have to handle a complaint. And if you get a complaint, handle it.
Right.
Not all complaints are legitimate. They're all, and it's every single time. It's not 100%, but it's 98% of the time. It's always communication.
And how many times does the complaint come back to you because not only did you handle it right, but it became more business down the road.
At the car dealership, that was my whole business. We made a lot of mistakes. I mean, but we owned up to them.
Right.
And when people were wrong, trying to get something over, firing a customer, right? Oh, that's terrible to say. No, you can't do business with everybody. You would go bankrupt, right? But if you're doing everything the right way, stand on that and make sure you communicate it and listen to the customer and listen to the employee. We don't do a lot of that. As business owners, we put all our money into skin in the game. And I'll talk about that following up on you asking the next question, but I want to talk about gatekeepers.
Okay.
Because that's critical.
We'll get to that, and I'm going to go into BBB here just a second, but I do have one last question about the car area. What was the hardest thing for you to do when you were managing multiple folks and multiple areas of that business? What was the hardest thing for you to do?
I want to say one word, and that's firing. But it's not just firing. I've dealt with mental health crises. I've dealt with drug and alcohol addiction, marital affairs, also stealing, all sorts of things. And it all comes back to the firing in kind of way. But the way I dealt with it, I took people to NA. I took people to AA myself. If they needed mental health, I found places for them. I handled it confidentially. And one of the hardest things, if you ever trust, you should trust your leaders around you for confidentiality. And the worst thing is when you trusted somebody that the employee, something, you've helped them, and you tell your lead manager next to your lead coach, your offensive line coach or defensive line coach, and they share it with the team and betray the trust. Probably bothered me the most. I mean, it's so firing, but firing takes up a lot of different areas. If it's a big word or one word. So if that answers the question.
Well, actually, my biggest disappointment in business life was when I had to terminate over 100 employees Christmas week.
Oh.
One of the hardest things. And not just the number or the timing. It was just knowing exactly that. The implications go far greater than just the business situation. So, Barry, I came to know who you were through what you did on television with television commercials, where you took the time, you invested to not just present, or actually you didn't present your product, you turned the microphone over to many community associations. Why did you do that?
One of the best lessons, anybody listening that's in business. So at the car dealership, I bought that segment with Chip Tarkington, and Jim Vernay came to me. He was a sales rep at Channel WRIC, Channel 8, and he said, we got this product coming out. You're going to be perfect. It's live TV. This is up your alley, Barry. Let's do it. It's 4 minutes. So I did it. I did it for 3-4 weeks. But I said to myself as a marketer, the public, Richmond doesn't want to see this big guy, overweight man, right, talking about cars over and over again. They're not going to watch.
Right.
So I got to have a stage light. I got to have it to be able to go on. So I then opened it up to my customers that had businesses. Said, if you're a company, right, but Meyers Enterprises, if you're buying a van from me, come on Showcase Richmond and let's highlight your company. And I asked probably 100 people. No, maybe 200. Guess how many took me up on that?
How many?
Zero. People don't listen. And I used to say to Bud or whoever, hey, I already ripped you off. You bought a van for $30,000. I made about $80,000 on you. And they just look at you dumbfounded because you know why? People don't listen.
Right.
They don't listen. They know everything and they don't stop to listen. So I had to do something else. I wanted to show. I committed to Channel 8. I believed in it. So I started saying, okay, I'm tired of telling every customer that wants to sell Girl Scout cookies or schedule, sponsor a baseball team. No, because I couldn't do it. Every customer had a cost. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. And it was never just $10. It had to be hundreds, if not thousands, in the customer's mind because you sold them a car for $20,000 or $30,000. So you must have made a fortune. Mm-hmm. If I told them I lost $500, they don't believe me.
Right.
But it was factual.
Right.
And so what I did is started saying yes to every nonprofit. Yes, I can help you. I'll let you promote on Showcase Richmond. Bud, Happy the artist, painted a picture for me put it at Lisa Schaffner's UNOS night. And I have it in my it's in my office here. I have to show you. Anybody wants to come by and see it, they got to see a piece of artwork from Happy. But I served over 600 nonprofits.
Had no idea.
And it's not the word I, because without my partners saying yes,
Right.
it never would have happened. I could have been told no. But that's the trust they put in me, and it was reputation. 12 years, 600 nonprofits. So me, I'm a good sifter. I know good and bad nonprofits. I can figure it all out when they don't really have a cause and they think they do. They just want to raise money. So anyway, we went on to Matt DiNardo, and there it is. The show is still going. Channel 6 has got it. Channel 12 has got it. Everybody's got it.
Right.
And it's all because of Chip Tarkington.
That's fantastic.
And Bob Peterson. If you remember Bob Peterson, he's still around here.
It always made me feel like you were doing, some just incredible things there. But let's go to, you were already doing BBB elements
Yes.
before you came here. But what drove you to make that decision, to make that switch, and to become the BBB here?
Yeah, so I was on the board of directors here with Tom Gallagher, and I learned a lot. Didn't quite understand. I was the dealership with the seal on the front door, on the website, talking about integrity, trust, using those big words that the BBB has been doing since 1912. So I moved forward. Things didn't go completely the right way. I didn't leave Richmond the right way. I will always be remorseful of that. It's knowing how to leave with integrity and respect. I just walked out, and I was an angry person. But dealing with, you never make big decisions. But in my brother-in-law dying of Agent Orange, living with me, I had 2 homes because I had to buy another house so he could get downstairs. It was my wife's only sibling. When he was going and when he went, she was in a bad place. I found out I had prostate cancer, and I had somebody luring me away from Richmond, and I made a mistake. And so I got up there. It didn't work out. I tried a couple other businesses and just basically said, enough's enough. I'm going to retire. And I got a phone call and applied for this job, and it was just meant to be. I belong in this job. I think, however more years I do it, this community needs the Better Business Bureau. We need the chambers. We need economic development. But we all need a marketplace that starts with trust. And that's what we bring to the market. And yes, our clients are accredited businesses. They pay to keep our mission going. But we handle complaints. What these businesses do that are accredited, Virginia Breeze, what you guys do is allows us to provide people of all backgrounds access to information about companies before they go down the wrong road. That's free. Nobody does that. What business would go into business and charge nothing? Well, that's all provided by accredited businesses and some of our sponsors.
So it's obvious what consumers see in the BBB because it's one of the only lifelines that they have before they make a purchase.
That's correct.
If you are an accredited business, you know that you can trust that. But what is the relevance of BBB from the business side, from the actual business owner?
As we were talking about over and over again, and you're part of my help desk and the anatomy of a business that you're doing this podcast and the Virginia Breeze, what we offer is they pay us a fee, $550 a year for companies under 50 employees.
Okay.
$550 a year. For that, I tried to build a product that's worth 2 to 3 times that. So we allow them to do a podcast here in our studio, Anatomy of the Business, the help desk. I do Ignite conversations every single month. We had mental health last month, and the month before was food insecurity. We're talking about things that the way I fire up a room being direct is people walk into food insecurity and people from the food bank, and I say, we don't need the food banks anymore. You want to get people's attention in Richmond, be direct.
Right.
They don't like direct. And I say, listen to my words and let's find out. I want to know the root causes. Why are more and more people dependent? and food insecurity growing instead of going down. We're doing something wrong. So let's identify. Let's help the people. I don't want to start people, but let's help change generational.
We think that most people that are in business, the way I see it, and the different levels that I've been on, the one element we don't have is time. I mean, you're trying to manage, you're trying to analyze, you're trying to do all the things that you have to do on a daily basis, but you don't have time.
Yes.
And what that does is it makes you say no too much. No to, I can't do that now. I can't invest in that now. I've got to worry about this. I have this profit situation I've got here, or this customer problem, this fire that I've got, right? And so where can BBB help in that situation? Is it possible to actually, you're dealing with owners that basically say, I know everything. You know, they don't listen, like you said. How can BBB be more effective?
First of all, we're national, so we're across the whole country and in Canada.
How many people see that website?
To just do see the website, it's probably over 1 billion, but the inquiries checking out companies was 384 million last year.
Wow.
Yeah, so the people that tell me you're irrelevant, what are you there for?
Right.
You're not paying attention because you know everything. You're not looking for info. Just go to AI. It'll tell you in less than 5 seconds how relevant we are. Do you know, Bud, in the world of advertising, if I was selling media in this town right now, I would be worried because AI is going to conquest a lot of these dollars. It's not going to be free. It's not going to stay cheap. It's going to get very expensive because you're going to get direct correlation for ROI on touching the market and the people that want to do business with you if you're smart with it. And do you know AI is right now scraping all the companies and all the words, looking for words trustworthy, integrity, respect. I'm not making that up. That's what AI is getting from consumers because consumers now feel they don't have to listen to all the ads, right? They want to be pinpointed and they want to find a company that's talking their language.
Right.
So the Better Business Bureau, for $550, forget all the ads you're running. And some of these companies that are listening, they spend $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month. You know that and I know that.
Right.
I let them be on the Virginia Breeze. I'm paying the Virginia Breeze. They could run 20 spots on your station and be heard in 200 countries or so. That is amazing. So people aren't listening. So the time, if you listen and don't get sold, from a old friend, something that you don't want to buy, listen to logic and intelligence. And you said, you got to say yes. Stop saying no in Richmond. Parney, who we all love, we learned a lot. I learned from him, I think it's 12 or 14 years ago. I knew Parney before they were called the Squirrels. Mm-hmm. And then Anthony Opperman, who's now the general manager there, I believe. Parney has a saying, start with yes and figure it out. Well, I brought that back to the car dealership. I brought it to Pittsburgh car dealership. I brought it to Red Box Dumpsters that I owned as a franchise and Farmers Insurance Agency. I started with yes and figured it out. So if business owners can hear that, they're not going to hear it anywhere else. I'm the one CEO of all the organizations here that has a resume that's pretty sizable. I've made good money, could have made more, could have made less. But I've been a student of every business I've been in, and that's what you get. For the $550, if you become an accredited business and you don't have time, you don't have the time not to say, Barry, I got to talk to you. Because the world's moving fast. We're starting an AI There's so many AI consultants out there now. I call them all salespeople. I don't know how many people really know what they're doing with AI. We're partnered with VCU. I just met the dean, Dr. Iglesias. I just met with her. They've had somebody on loan to us for 12 months, building the Ignite program, my pillars, my conversations, Spark Conversations, micro-credentials, and now AI training.
You said about branding several times within this conversation. One of the things that really got me, and again, I'm from the consumer electronics industry, back in the day, you guys, if you can remember back in the day, RCA was, their tagline was the most trusted name in electronics. And so I got to, when I spoke at the Consumer Electronics Show one time, and I asked that question, who was the most trusted name in electronics? And no one could tell me.
Wow.
Okay. And that's RCA, right, kids, the people that invented color televisions, Sarnoff Labs. But they knew Vizio. They knew these brands. My point here is this is a new world where no matter what you have invested, because of the new media, because of the new realm of communication, a new brand can command the attention almost overnight. And so what you rely on is your associations for that trust. And is there anything better in business than a BBB logo?
You know, there's a lot of associations. You're using association a different way, but associations for all the industries, they all exist, right? And they all are independent, and they're lobbyists and all that, and they don't interact. I don't think there's any of them that are interacting with consumers. Now, we could have a car show, a home show, boat show for those associations. The Better Business Bureau, we're unique. We're one of a kind. We're not a competitor, but our seal means something. We just changed our logo. I think you saw
I love it.
And that just went out last night to Accredited Business. I love it. Rebecca Dupe, I never say her name right. She went to Chesterfield High School, Clover Hill.
Really?
Not Chesterfield, Clover Hill.
Okay.
William and Mary, and won the Bravo Awards with the Education Foundation. Because I was going to nominate her, and they said, Barry, she won about 10 years ago. She just took over the IABBB and truly gets where we're going over the next 20 to 50 years, as much as anybody can. And between her leadership, her energy, her team, and she's not an only player, she's got a team around her, like I have a team, but the I's are we's, and we are accomplishing so much. And these companies that are not participating with us are going to lose the traction that AI could pick up from them today. So anybody that doesn't pick up the phone, 804-521-6940, and call me and just meet me. I'll meet you on your grounds. You don't have to come here. I'm a big boy. But I will logically and intelligently talk to you and tell you why you start at yes, Parney, and then you figure it out, because that's who we are. And there's nobody else in town. BNI groups, 212, Synapse, I got a couple meeting here. They're wonderful. They're all looking to do business, but they all could rally around the Better Business Bureau.
Absolutely, I agree.
Anyway.
Barry, thank you for taking the time. First of all, to going back a little bit to reminisce about your life. But you really do an important work here, and we are so proud at Virginia Breeze Broadcasting to be a part of it. Thank you so much. Till next time, I'm Bud Meyers. This is Anatomy of a Business. Until next week, bye-bye.